Hey there, toy collector friends and DC fans alike, particularly Batman DC fans. Welcome back to the channel. I am the time-travelling toy collector, and this is a bit of a blast from the past on a couple of fronts. This is the Batmobile from the 1989 Batman movie, produced for us from the directorial talents of Tim Burton and starring Michael Keaton as Batman and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. And this was the Batmobile that reinvented Batman for the big screen back in 1989. It's also the very first of the Batmobile's Automobilia collection that was released a few years ago through our old friends Eaglemoss and Hero Collector, if I recall correctly. It was one of the first things that I actually posted on my Instagram page when I first started doing anything to do with collections, because whilst I initially had no intention of collecting the Batman Automobilia collection, I have to admit I ended up collecting all of them, which speaks a lot, I know, to my own issues. But it also gave me a lot of insight into what collecting in this fashion could look like, because it wasn't without its issues, which I'll talk about over time. And it also had, this one comes complete with a Batman figure. You can see there, they're few and far between, but there's a figure in this one. There's a later product in the line which also came complete with a figure. And that, I think, is where I learned the hard way that I wasn't comfortable with the Eaglemoss approach to human faces, let's say. I'll probably put that one on in front of the camera at some point, and you'll no doubt be in a position to see exactly what I mean. And if you have collected these, you probably know what I'm talking about, and it's not a spoiler, but so feel free to put it in the comments if you think you know which of the entries into the Batman Automobilia range I'm talking about, where there's a particularly poor attention to what I presume was supposed to be a human figure, albeit in a cowl and a cape. But this seemed particularly relevant as we also are anticipating the arrival of the Flash movie into our cinemas, which also sees Michael Keaton, and from what we've seen teased so far, the original Michael Keaton Batmobile making its reappearance on the big screen for the first time since those 1980s, early 90s couple of films in which he played that role. As I said, I had posted quite a few of these. There's about 85, I think, in total. So I will do a bit of an occasional series on these, so I'll wheel them out to sort of break up the monotony of Transformers and Doctor Who and other things. I say monotony, that's more from your point of view than mine. But of course, if you do enjoy the Batmobiles, a look at the Batmobiles and how they're presented in these crystal cases, etc., do please like the video, and whilst you're doing that, why not subscribe? I'll wait a couple of seconds for you to do that. Yep, so like and subscribe, that'd be great. Fantastic. Right, well, assuming you've done that, that's brilliant. If you didn't quite have time, you can always do it at the end of the video. Don't you worry about that. So let's take a look at this. Now, the conceit of this particular range is that they work through all the Batmobiles that they can possibly, or Batman, not just Batmobiles to be fair, Batman vehicles and vehicles of the various DC Batman universes. And present them with these sort of nice, not entire dioramas, because it's, as you can see, it's just a sort of lenticular thing at the back, which I'll get out and give you a look at. But with a sort of a detailed base, some supporting props around the edges, and that lenticular background that's supposed to be a scene from the sequence in which the vehicle appears. In this case, I think it's the Acme Chemicals plant blowing up, which on one hand makes sense, on the other hand doesn't make sense, because why is Batman standing there amongst all the blowing up stuff? I don't think that doesn't make sense. But anyway, we'll park that. Doesn't matter. We'll park that in the same way that he has parked the Batmobile. And I'm gonna in a second take this top case off. I know, exciting. But in the first instance, I just wanted to give you a sense of what you can actually see through the case. It's nicely well put together. It's held in place, as you can see there, by some screws that hold the Batmobile and indeed the other components in place. You can see them there under the Batmobile itself. And what I won't be doing, at least I'm not anticipate doing, is taking them off the base. I'm going to treat them purely as the display model pieces that they are, although they do make for some fantastic photography pieces, and I will as ever put some shots at the end of the video for you to have a look at. So let me pop it there, and I'm going to take the lid off. Let's hope it just comes away nice and straightforwardly. Thank you very much. I'm going to take this out. This is the lenticular backdrop that we have with this one, so you can see it. It doesn't actually move, but if I shine the light that way, you can see that it is designed to give it a three-dimensional. Probably isn't their intention, but I think by the same token it might be to give the impression that there's an element of 3D-ness to it, and it doesn't entirely not work. There is a sense that it shifts with your perspective. I think hopefully you can see that there's a little bit of that going on there, but it isn't brilliant. You know, it's not the most amazing piece, but it works fine as a backdrop for the main piece, which I'll pick up here. Now, I will be careful because I don't want anything to go flying. Now, I actually will start by sort of contradicting myself and saying I really don't mind the Batman figurine. You know, it actually looks, for what it is and for the scale it looks quite good. So, for example, as I looked for find where I put my pen, which is just here, you can get a real sense of, there's the nib of the pen, there's Batman. So you can see it's very small in the scheme of things. So to have it that level of detailing that works from a distance, I'm okay with. And I can even be forgiving for the face sculpt. There's enough of a suggestion there that works for me. If it was a bigger figure, and as I've mentioned already, that's to come, if it was a bigger figure, I may have a few more issues with it. I really liked the surrounding props for this one, the two cans, the Acme Chemical cans there, and the Batman figure. I thought was a really strong opener to the range, and that's before we even start looking at the Batmobile, and I think the Batmobile looks really good. Now, it has no special features, it has no additional kind of, you can see that sort of front fan, presumably as an intake. The bat symbols there in the center of those hubcaps. So we've got the bat symbol represented there. We've got the nice silver detailing around that. Now again, this is quite, I think the date was at the bottom. Let me just double check that, if I'm not making it up. I am making it up, it's not on there, which is a shame. But it's quite a long time. It was quite a good few years ago. I want to say that it was like 2015, 2016, something like that. May even have been 2014. If anyone's, I should have checked actually, I feel bad now that I've not, but if anyone knows off the top of their head when they started releasing the Batman Automobilia collection, drop it in the comments. I'll be very grateful. Thank you very much. But yeah, so taking a little turn around the sides of this, I really think they did an excellent job. I mean, as I say, you can see where they've pulled out the headlights are there. You can sort of see them tucked in amongst the those cans, the canisters. I think the overall detailing on the Batmobile is, broadly speaking, good. The canopy there maybe would have benefited from some transparent plastic, but I do wonder what the price points were looking like at this stage when these were coming out. Then we have those nice fins at the back there, and again more transparent clearance plastic making up the red rear tail lights, and the regular thrust is pulled out there in silver, and we have the super rocket thrust also pulled out in that silver paint. So the scheme is very straightforward and very simple. It's the black and the silver with some red highlights. But I really like the design of this Batmobile. I didn't initially, because again, I'd not really followed Batman in the comics, so I didn't have a overly effective working knowledge of the range of Batman stuff. As a child in the 70s, I did have the Corgi, who didn't, the Corgi Batmobile, which has long since disappeared, which was battered beyond recognition. But I got it with the set with the Batboat and trailer and the Batcopter. And you can imagine, which again, I had hours. I literally remember playing 4 hours with the Batcopter and the Batbite and the Batboat. Sorry, as it appeared in the 1960s Batman series with Adam West. So I was thrilled and delighted, as you can probably imagine, when the Batboat and the Batcopter were both released as part of this range, and we will look at those in the fullness of time. I'll prioritize those. I'm not going to go through these in the order that they were released, probably not least because I can't remember, and that isn't how I display them. I have them displayed sort of by genre, so the movie Batmobiles, the TV series Bat vehicles, comic Batmobiles, and so on. So it's not villain vehicles, because there's a couple of villain vehicles in the mix as well. So yeah, so it's I haven't been strict in keeping them in the chronological order in which they were released, nor indeed in the chronological order in which they appeared in Batman media. So when I come to do this, I probably will follow the same route. So for example, the next one I do of these will probably be the 1960s Batmobile, because again it's iconic to me and one of the things that I'm the most nostalgic about. But again, this also was something I'm very nostalgic about as a model, because this was at the time when I'd sort of transitioned from or was in the process of transitioning from my secondary school phase of education into adulthood. And I remember going and seeing this film, and I remember getting who I went and saw it with, and then watching. It's one of the first things I watched on a home video. So there you go. Was it? That might be a lie, actually. It wasn't one of the first things I watched on a home video. It was one of the first things I watched on Sky TV, on Sky Movies. Yeah, it wasn't home video. I thought that doesn't make any sense. I'm lying to you. Yeah, no, I can tell you exactly one of the first things I watched on home video, but I'll do that at another time. I wonder if you can guess. It is relevant to other videos that I have done. Yeah, so I really like this. I like the quality of the detailing. It looks good when it is positioned with the other Batmobiles, particularly the movie Batmobiles. And I think it connects a lot with my nostalgia. It isn't a freewheeling toy. It's not an action figure. It is a model, but it does that thing that so many of the Eaglemoss stuff, when they do it well, works. It evokes a sense of nostalgia, and it gets me to buy into it. It really gets me to buy into it, and I love it so much. So I'm really, really grateful that they managed to get all of this range out before they hit their troubles. I often see some of these vehicles being reissued or being available standalone, which is great. When I'm at conventions, you'll often see people flogging some of these. I think on average they retailed for about $9.99 back in the day. I'm not entirely sure that is what you would be paying now. But again, as I say, sometimes they crop up on some online retailers. So if you were interested in looking for these, it's quite an eclectic range of vehicles. I'm pretty sure there was one or two things that I was really hopeful would be included and perhaps never were. I think more from the movies, however. But what is included is very eclectic, very interesting stuff I didn't know even existed in Batman lore. And I look forward to sharing it with you. As I say, it's not with a view to me pushing this as a market or a thing for you to look to collect. It's just something that I think is really interesting. They're in my collection. I am thinking about now having to perhaps put them in storage for a while and swap some of my collections around, so there's somewhere for these for some of my other pieces to be presented. which will, you know, it's sad, but I've got to be pragmatic. So I'm not selling them. I'm just going to probably rest them for a little while. But as I say, there's quite a lot of them. So as I work through them, I'll probably pull some videos together simultaneously and get them out for your entertainment. I say entertainment, I hope you're entertained, or at least mildly curious and interested. But just again, I think they do it really well. And I think with some really good lighting, you can achieve all sorts of wonderful things with their particular Batman Automobilia models. So let me know what you think. Did you collect this range when it first came out, or have you picked them up just perhaps the ones that you really liked or were really excited by, because there were some special editions as well that were slightly larger scale models. I have those as well. As I say, I literally had the entire set of Batmobiles, so I'm more than happy to take us through them. And there are a couple of discussion points I have around some of the models and some of the features of some of the models, be it around quality, etc., which then overlaps with some issues and discussions about other elements of model collecting, for example. So, as I said earlier, if this has been of any interest to you whatsoever, you just gone, oh, it's quite a good way to pass 15 or 16 minutes, that's great. Do please smash that like button. Do please subscribe to the channel. It means so much to me. It really helps the channel keep going. Yeah, I've been the Time Travelling Toy Collector. You've been a lovely audience. Thank you very much for spending time with me today. And this has been the Batmobile, as it appeared in the Batman movie from 1989, starring Michael Keaton, little Michael Keaton there, and is looking like it's about to reappear in the Flash movie coming out in 2023, assuming it comes out in 2023, but who knows. Anyway, take care. All that remains for me is to say that a thing of beauty really is a toy forever. Take care, and I look forward very much to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.